What's up, everybody? This is Bob's Three-Toed Warriors with Word on the Street, Season 1, Episode 5, titled Hollywood Always Up to No Good. Why do I pick that? Because today I have Hollywood Titan with me. What's going on, Hollywood?
What's going on, Bob? Just hanging out, chilling, trying to stay home, stay safe, all that good stuff. Drinking a few cold ones, as you know. That's what I do.
I'll cheers to that. I got my unofficial sponsor, Mr. Rumpleman's, here with me. I think that was a big old, pint of Budweiser, or was that just a straight 40?
That's a big 25-ounce curl. I like to stay in shape.
Yeah, one arm at a time. All right, so you can catch the podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, just about everywhere else. You can also find it on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. Give the show one of those beautiful little 5-star ratings. It helps out a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Hollywood, tell everybody where they can find you and your work.
So a recent change, if some of y'all don't know, I am now with the IDP guys, doing some writing. I still do the podcast with Dan, IDP Nation. We have the daily IDP grind. If you're really crazy and like the college football side of fantasy, we do that. Just all kinds of things. I'm here with you and making the rounds everywhere else. So lots of things going on right now.
What's that Twitter handle that likes to get changed so much?
Oh yeah. So it's now at Hollywood Titan.
There we go. That's why we call him the Hollywood Titan.
There you go.
All right. So, why do you love that IDP so much?
I just like having that full control of the team. You've got another question coming up that'll kind of explain it, but I just like having that full control. You know, I'm a defensive guy, so I like defense, but, it's part of, you've got offense and defense, so why not play them both? I mean, you can control both pieces and have your guys, or mostly have your guys if somebody don't beat you to them. So
yeah, but I'd rather just play team defense. I'd rather just take the Dolphins defense and just, rock it out.
But that's crazy. And that's the question I was referring to.
I know.
So it would be the equivalent of this. It would be like you playing all individual defense, linebackers, defensive ends, etc., and then playing a team offense.
That sounds so stupid to me. That sounds so stupid, and I've never heard anybody say it that way, but that makes complete sense. Like, I couldn't imagine doing that. I'm like, what were you talking about? I'll take the Chiefs offense. That's just –
right.
Yeah.
And that's the exact same thing with team defense, and that's what people do. They'll nitpick and fine-tune and get their offense, and then they'll say, "Meh, I'll take the Patriots defense," or "I'll take the Ravens defense."
Yeah, let the computers auto-draft it for me.
Yeah, it's the same thing, and that's how I look at it. I mean, I've played in those leagues in the past, but once I went to IDP individual players, I was like, "What have I been doing this whole time?"
Yeah, I jumped in with a couple leagues with you last year, and it was phenomenal. And I think what I found was that I never cared a damn lick in the last couple years since starting playing fantasy football about what happened on defense. Matter of fact, I was hoping for the worst team defense to be out there on the field and scoring to be going galore, unless it was my Broncos. And then at that point, I knew I wanted them to play some good defense because, they got the no-fly zone.
Right.
So yeah, I can totally buy that. I can completely see that. If you were going to create an IDP league today, what does that look like? Like general depth, positions, general scoring. That's a really broad question, but let's start with just depth. Start with depth / positions. What do you do there? What's ideal for you?
For me, see, I'm just so used to it, it's kind of second nature. We started a second listener league this year, me and Dan, and it's basically, I think, 11-12 offense and 11-12 defensive players. So it's balanced scoring. The defense scores that's what I really like, is when the defense scores equivalent to the offense.
Oh yeah.
I think it makes it more enjoyable. It makes it more meaningful, because I've played in leagues where they say it's offense and defense, but it's still geared so much heavily towards offense because your defense is so far down the line. You're still using the players, but the scoring's off.
Yeah.
For me, I like it when they're balanced. Like Darius Leonard will score equivalent to, McCaffrey.
Yeah.
in a normal season. Your super seasons, there'll be more, but when it's balanced like that, it's really fun. It just gives you another way to build your team.
Oh yeah. That was the first time I'm like watching 45 on Atlanta. I'm like, let's go.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, I hear you. I put out a little poll out there on, like, in general, when you play IDP, do you want 3 to 5 defensive players? Do you want, I think I said 11 or more, or do you want just team defense or something like that? And it was overwhelming, or not team defense, or maybe I just said defense only, IDP only, no offense. I think that's what I said. Not many votes for IDP only, some, but not many. But it was definitely that deep IDP, because a lot of people said that if you go shallow IDP, it's just like having a 6-team offensive league and everybody has straight studs.
Right.
So, yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm, like I said, I'm used to it now, so it's the normal for me. Most of my leagues are 11 individual defensive players or more. You know, they're pretty deep. I mean, you've got deep rosters, you've got deep taxi squads, all this good stuff. I don't really play a whole lot of redraft, but I do. There's some leagues, you know, and it just depends on what you get used to. Now, I will say, if you're just starting, and this is how I started in IDP. I was interested in it, and I went and found a league, ESPN or Yahoo. I don't even remember what it was at the time. And you only picked 4 defensive players. And it was basically really generic, like 2 linebackers, a defensive lineman, and a defensive back. So you didn't have the specific positions. And I played it that first year, and I was like, I really like this, but I think it could be better. And the next season, I kind of looked, and I think I found the one where it was like 6 or 7 players. It was like 2 of each at each position. And I was like, okay. And then I got turned on to the dynasty leagues where it's, you know, corners, defensive tackles, defensive ends. And once I hit that, man, there was no looking back.
I get that. It's without shows like your show, it's hard I feel like it's harder. You know, I'm probably just lazy. I feel like it's harder for people to find good IDP information. I think it's because it's so different from league to league, depth to depth. It's so different. Like when you listen to an offensive show and they're like, go hit the waiver wire this week, go pick up these 2-3 running backs, these 2-3 wide receivers. These are the guys you're looking for. Right. And they're looking at some general statistics of guys who are available in like a majority of leagues. Is there a good resource out there for that for the IDP side?
Yeah, and when me and Dan started this podcast, I mean, that's kind of how I was feeling too. I mean, it's not as mainstream or common as offense.
Yep.
We're a little bit more geared towards dynasty, but we try to help everybody, whether it's just redraft or if it's a keeper league or whatever.
Sure.
You know, I wrote for Dynasty Football Factory there. There's some good guys over there that does some stuff. I'm now at IDP guys. There's me and Dan is both there, and there's some other really good guys there that does a lot of IDP. And we've got, you know, everything kind of covered, you know, whether it's redraft or keeper or dynasty or even daily, or even if you're into the college thing like I mentioned earlier. I mean, we try to touch on everything. And then if you hit us up on social media, especially me and Dan, we're more than happy to answer any question on any type of format.
Sure. Give them that little Debbie Diamond.
That's right.
All right, so let's give you a little test key here. Who would you go late round draft steal on a shallow league? Maybe a couple guys, different positions, but you know, a guy or two, guy or a few. This isn't the question at the end of the show. This is just late draft. So maybe you're doing a startup.
Okay.
So
let's see. So if you're in a startup, you're looking for a late round guy.
Shallow league. So maybe they only start 5 or 6. Maybe they start 1 or 2 from each position, something like that.
Okay. So if you're in a really shallow league, and that's, And that's a good way to start. It really is.
Get your 3 toes in the water.
Feet, yeah, get your feet wet, kind of dip in there. So you're looking, 12 teams really shallow. You're probably getting down maybe 30 or 40 guys on defense, maybe. But looking at somebody deep you can get as a player, sorry, forgot what I was about to say there. you can get some cheap guys. It kind of depends. I'm assuming this is basic, like linebacker, defensive back.
It's a basic league, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, linebacker with the depth that is there in a basic league, you can really kind of wait because there's a lot of good talent there. So you can kind of wait and get a guy like let's see here, like a Mac Wilson that's going kind of late. He's going to put up really good numbers for you. You can probably get a guy like, let's see here, Demario Davis you can kind of get late in a shallow league. There's a lot of – that position is so deep, you're going to get quality players. Defensive end, that would be the one I would target first in any league just because the top-end talent is not as deep as it is at the other positions.
Okay.
So there you may be looking at outside of your top guys, you're looking quicker at that spot than you will the other ones. Where linebacker and safety or defensive back, whatever you want to call it, it's so deep, you're going to want to target those guys. So you're looking at maybe players such as, let's see, I'm looking here. Josh Allen for Jacksonville, you can get him late. In a shallow league, you can get a guy like Jordan Cameron probably a little later. There's some guys that you can get, and then there's, because I'm looking here, you got about 5 guys that are elite, and then everybody else just kind of falls in line. You can get a guy like J.J. Watt, big name. You can probably get him late in a shallow league.
But yeah, okay. Gotta get those Watt brothers in there, right?
Yeah, and TJ too. You could probably get him a little later than most. It's a defensive end. You're going to look at Danielle Hunter, Myles Garrett, the Bosa brothers. Those are probably going to be your first 4 off the board, and then after that, everybody just kind of falls in behind it. So,
well, I had both Bosa brothers in my league, and I did not do well. Not because of them, but because of the rest of my team.
Right.
My approach was, I know offense, so let me just stack up on defense, and I'll figure out offense as I go. I did all right, but the guys who knew who to snag off waivers when people go down, that's why I suffered. So before we move on to the next question, I mentioned a little bit about RSO, Reality Sports Online, and a little promotion that I got for you. I mentioned it on the last episode. Reality Sports Online is a platform where if you like to be a general manager, you can go and you can put a contract for 3 years on a guy, 4 years on a guy, X $1 million. You got the same budget as I just lost my earpiece. Same budget as the NFL salary cap. The closest thing to having a real team as you can be. In the NFL, they don't get to keep their players for life. They have to keep them under contract, keep them happy, franchise tag them, etc. It's the same thing in Reality Sports Online. It's a absolute blast. If you haven't tried it, people, go and do it. And you get 10% off your personal team fee or your entire league's fee if you just use this sweet little promo code. And that promo code is Boom Says Bob.
Boom Says Bob.
Boom Says Bob. So go check it out. It's really a neat league. You can play regular. That was probably the wrong word to use around IDP guy. You can use that offensive garbage there, or you can play regular IDP. You can play 32 teams, have a full 22-man roster going against each other, offense and defense every week.
Awesome.
It gets as crazy as you want it to be or as basic as you want it to be. So
yeah,
that's a little bit about Reality Sports Online. But let's talk about some late round draft steals for those deeper leagues. So when I played in a league with you, those leagues with you, we had not 55 people in the whole league like you just said on the shallow league. we had 55-man rosters on our individual teams. Now that was offense and defense, but we had 55-man rosters, and then we had 10-man taxi squad, and then we had a 10-man IR spot, which you tried to keep those guys stashed on, so players can just disappear. So,
right.
any nice little steals in those deeper leagues?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of looking. It's kind of similar. You're just kind of adjusting due to the league size or your roster size and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you a player like Keanu Neal, who's been hurt for the last 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
his value has just plummeted due to injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And you can have him for a little of nothing right now. You know, because owners are still scared of him. You know, they're not going to draft him high. They're not going to draft him early. And if he bounces back, you know, I mean, there's no reason to think he won't. I think he just went through a little bit of a unlucky streak. But yeah, I mean, where he's getting drafted is huge value. I mean, you can get him for basically pennies on the dollar.
Are you a cornerback hater?
No, I'm not. That's Dan.
That's Dan. I forgot which one it was.
And you can hit him up at Seahawks Dan 8. He'd be more than welcome to talk corners with you. He loves talking cornerbacks. I encourage that, by the way.
He loves talking cornerbacks about as much as many analysts on pods love talking about tight ends. Sound about right?
That's pretty close.
Why does he hate it so much?
I don't know. You know, that's a good question. I might have to ask him. I really don't know. He just
put him on the spot, man.
That's a good question. I'm gonna bring that up when we record this week. So
yeah.
And it's weird because we play in so many leagues where you have to start corners. I just don't understand. See, I made him join my home league. We had an opening, and I got him to join, and I didn't tell him that you had to start 2 corners every week until he joined. So.
That's a little hashtag strategy right there. Get that check before you.
There you go.
Before you let them know what's going on. That is hilarious. I stole a few listener questions out there. Got a couple of them for us. We got Mr. Darren Drew on the Twitters. He says, always wanted to join an IDP league, IDP only league. He said, ooh, IDP only, not even merged, but IDP only league, but haven't taken the plunge, ... yet, ...
Ooh.
So, I know a few guys out there in the IDP world. I think you might know a couple million. Might have been a little exaggeration, but quite a few people out there in the IDP world. Think we can help find this lost soul a home?
Yeah, I think we can. I'll look around and I'll put the word out and see what I can find for him. And if he'll just hit me up in my DMs or hit you up, and we can get together from there. We'll see what we can find him.
Yeah, that sounds good. That's always a fun one. Speaking of the listener leagues, I'm firing up the very first Word on the Streets listener league. It's gonna be a little auction because I love auctions. I think they're way more entertaining than drafts. Drafts are fun. They have their purpose in life. But if you can sneak a few auctions in there, they are a absolute blast. I'm gonna do it on Yahoo because that's where I've done a couple other auctions, just single year redraft, one and done type deals. So we're gonna do that with the Word on the Streets listener league, and I'm gonna give away 2 spots based on a random drawing. It'll be fair. I'll probably do it on live here on the YouTube's little name in the hat deal. It'll be for people to give me some 5-star Apple iTunes reviews. That's called bribery. I don't care. A little hashtag bribery. I'm not ashamed. You do what you got to do. Scrap in this world. But you can do what you got to do. So I'm going to give away 2 spots that way. And then each week I'll let you guys know some more ways you can find. You can get in. Those 2 spots will be given away more towards the end of the entry period, which will come up before we know it. It's already June, July, August. Football season hopefully will be here before we know it. And we'll have some fun with it. Get some creative ways in there. So
Awesome.
Yeah. So rookies. Let's talk rookies. When I say let's talk, I really mean you're going to talk rookies because unless it's an offensive rookie, I probably can't talk about them too much. But what rookies would you be targeting in rookie drafts this season? Give me a good little handful of them. Some of your favorites. I know you got some favorites. And why?
Actually, I do. That's a really good question, by the way. But yeah, I do have some. I've been put. I don't know if you.
I hope all your league mates are listening so that you can give away all your secrets right now.
Yeah, no, that's the bad thing about doing podcasts. They take everything and use it against you. But that's fine. I would rather actually play in a league where everybody's listening and competitive as to just play in a league where they're not. It makes it so much sweeter when I beat them. So.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Plus, you can say, dude, you had my formula. How did you not beat me?
That's exactly right. But yeah, there's some rookies. I've been compiling a database. People have been sending me rookie drafts ever since the NFL draft.
Okay.
And, you got your big names, your Chase Youngs, your Isaiah Simmons, whatever. I'm looking at the values right now. Malik Harrison, linebacker for Baltimore. Everybody's all over his new teammate Patrick Queen for Baltimore. But you can have Harrison about 30 picks later than you can him. I think he's going to be a starter too. I think they're both going to start. So, you've got a little bit of value getting him much, much later in the draft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 3 rounds. That's a big deal.
One that surprised me is Grant Delpit. I wasn't the highest on him. I thought he was one of the top 4 or 5 safeties in the class. And he's being drafted as such, but he's going like in round 4 or 5 in most leagues, which is super good value for him. I mean, if he turns out to be as good as he has been, that's a great value for him.
Okay.
And then if you're looking for like a defensive lineman, if you're looking for a defensive end or a defensive lineman, you got to get AJ Epineza for Buffalo. If you've been following, I have been on his bandwagon for a long time. His combine wasn't good. I mean, his 40 times and his shuttles and all that stuff. And they have a place. They really do. I understand it. But you're not paying him. You're not drafting him to be a speed guy. He's going to get you the sacks. He's going to beat you down with his power and get sacks. That's what he does. And that's going to translate to the NFL. And you can get him almost in round 5 too. So, I mean,
that's cool.
Those are really good values. Those are 3 that I'm targeting just about every rookie draft I'm in right now.
Okay. So I've heard Buffalo. Is Buffalo getting a little sneaky on that defense? They're going to challenge to be a strong defensive team?
I think so. I mean, Sean McDermott, everybody should know what he did in Carolina. He's doing the same thing in Buffalo. He's even brought in a lot of his guys from there.
Okay.
They've got Ed Oliver, who I love. That dude's just a beast.
Yeah.
Now you've got AJ Epineza, who I just mentioned. They drafted Tremaine Edmonds.
Heard of that guy.
Yeah. They've got good safeties in Poyer, a good cornerback in Tre'Davious White. They are building a really good defense, and I think it's starting to click for them. They showed some signs last year, and I think they're going to, they added a couple veterans and some other pieces. I think it's happening for them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You ever like to, if you're doing a rookie only draft, do you ever? I'm sure you do. But do you have a preference of drafting before the NFL draft or after? I know where I sit on this in the offensive side, but where do you sit with that on the defensive side?
Man.
And you only have, 40 leagues you're in? 50 now? 60?
Right. Yeah, I'm probably close to 50, yeah.
I hate you. That's crazy.
Right. Really, I prefer after the NFL draft.
Sure.
Just because I like knowing
what you're buying?
Where everybody is, yeah. But I will say this, there is a couple of leagues that we draft almost as soon as the season's over. It's basically when when everybody when the line to declare is for the
Sure.
pros, for the underclassmen. As soon as that deadline passes, I've got a couple of leagues where we draft, and
You truly draft on talent.
yeah, and it's really interesting, that unknown element of where they're going to be and how they're going to fit. That you're, like you said, you're just drafting on talent. It does make it a little interesting because that's a real crapshoot. But most of my leagues is after the draft. I like knowing where they're going to be or who they're playing for.
Yeah, I get that. I completely get that. I'm a big fan of that myself. So let's ask you another little listener question here. Mr. Barry Baker says, any hope of a Quinnen Williams resurgence this upcoming season and beyond?
Quinnen Williams, yeah. I think so. I would like him a lot better if he was still a defensive tackle. I think, if I remember correctly, I think NFL moved him to defensive end, which I think hurts his value going from D tackle to D end. But he was hurt last year, so we didn't really get to see him at his full potential. So I think a healthy Williams will be better than what we saw a year ago with a guy that was just dinged up and didn't play a lot full time. So I think in that instance, yes, he's going to be better. Really talented kid, big guy. He played some defensive end for Alabama. So I think it's not going to be a big change for him. He's going to have to learn some things. So I like him.
Okay. That's good. I like it. So if you're doing a startup draft, and it's an offense and defense, fairly deep startup draft. Do you have a general strategy that you prefer? Like, some guys are going to just go all out offense. Some guys are going to go all out defense. Some guys are going to go balance. Some guys are going to, there's strategy. There's absolute strategy there. How do you kind of sit with that?
There is. And the first thing I would tell you is to know your league scoring. Is it really balanced? Like I was mentioning earlier, Leonard comparable to Elliott or McCaffrey or whatever on an average season. If it's really balanced, that makes a difference. If it's swayed more towards the offense, then naturally you're going to look at your offense more. But I think with offense still being the mainstream, even in, there's some leagues where I'm in, there's a lot of heavy IDP guys. I mean, they really know their stuff, but they still tend to draft offense heavy. And even in this last listener league, offense started going heavy. And I think you've really just got to watch. You don't want to jump on defense too early and take yourself away from offense, especially if everybody's going offense.
Sure. A little zig when they're zagging.
But you want to keep an eye out, where defense is going. If I don't know, say for example, Darius Leonard gets drafted in the 5th, you really don't want to freak out because that position is so deep. You can still wait, get good players, But if, for instance, somebody just crazily took Danielle Hunter in the 3rd round, then I think, you've really got to look at defensive ends because that position is not that deep with top talent. So you really got to start looking. I kind of look at the 5th round, and that's where my target is for a defensive player. I kind of look at the 5th, and then I just kind of watch. If it keeps sliding, then I'll kind of wait.
Runs are real.
And then, if there's a run at a certain position, I may kind of watch and take another position or something. If it gets away from me, it depends on the size of your league too. If somebody takes Danielle Hunter in the 5th round and then the next 4 picks are defensive ends and you're still 8 picks away, there's not a real rush for you to take a defensive end because the top guys are gone. So you're already looking at, the 2nd tier or whatever. So then, if there's a really good offensive player there, I'm still on offense, or I'll take a Darius Leonard if he's still there. I'll take one of the elite position players at the other position.
Sure. Get those scores in, get those points in as long as it is balanced. Yeah, I get that. I like that. Makes sense. I want to sprinkle my third listener question in there.
Go ahead.
This is from Walk, aka FF Coldwater. I feel like he was in the Dynasty League with us that one year.
I know Walk. I know who he is.
Okay. I thought so. He said, I want to know more about Kayvon Wallace, safety for the Eagles. And it says, is it my Kelly green colored glasses, or is he the real deal and should have been drafted with the likes of Kyle Duggar and Jeremy Chin? That was a lot of words you can explain to us, rookies.
Oh, Kayvon Wallace. I like him. I think he's going to be a really good player for the Eagles. And I understand looking through the team color glasses, my Titans blue gets in the way a lot of times. But
yeah, I see that behind you. I see that.
While I think he's really good and going to be a good player for them, he's not a Kyle Duggar player.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a Jeremy Chin is one of the better safeties in this draft class. He's probably going to push Xavier McKinney, Antoine Winfield, those guys. I think he's better than Grant Delpit. I really like Chin. He is. He's one of the top safeties in this class. Duggar, his thing is the versatility because he's got the kick return, punt return stuff. You know, he can do a little bit of everything. Landon in New England, that is crazy because Bill Belichick will use him like you've not seen. He's going to be a Swiss Army knife all over the place. But Wallace, I like him. I think he's a really good safety who's going to have a really good career and fits in a place where they need him. Philadelphia really needs him. I'm not really ready to put him up there with those guys, but I do like his fit and what he brings to the team.
Okay. I think that's
he is one that you can get really late. I mean, looking at my thing here, my database, he's going really, really late. So if you don't get one of those top guys, then I would put him. I would put him close to an Ashton Davis that went to the Jets, or I can't think of the other kid's name. Oh, Antoine Brooks that went to the Steelers. Those are three that are going with Wallace, Kayvon Wallace. Those three are going to be three really good safeties that you can get late. Maybe they have to wait a little bit this year, but they're going to be future players for their teams easily.
Okay. Here's a question for you. So if in offense only leagues, we have these guys called wide receivers. We have these guys called running backs. These guys called tight ends and quarterbacks. And in general, they're pretty clearly the position they are, right? You got some that are going to go deep, some are going to stay short. And then we have these scoring called standard, half PPR, full PPR, maybe some half point per scoring. And some guys will season it up with a little points per completion or rush. They'll tweak it a little bit. In general, you don't have that. You got your standard half point, full point PPR, stuff like that.
Right.
This might be a soapbox moment for you. This might not. I don't know. We're going to find out really quick, though. Might have to take a little beverage break while you do. I don't know. Where do you sit on the whole standardized scoring systems, clearly defined players, positions, stuff like that in the IDP world?
Boy, you about to get me started.
I told you it might be a soapbox. It might not. I'm a proponent of it. I'm not even playing IDP that much, and I carry a sign for it. So.
Right. For me, I like the deep rosters, the deep leagues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I like as far as scoring goes, I really prefer it balanced. You know, I want Darius Leonard or whoever's having that best linebacker season, I want them to be scoring just as much as, you know, McCaffrey or Saquon or Ezekiel. I want that balance league-wide.
Sure.
Because I think it gives you, no matter what you like, offense, defense, whatever, I think it gives you different ways to build your team.
It does.
The standardized, I can see it overall for the community. There's, just like an offense, there needs to be one for IDP, and I think we're trending towards that. And that's the way to start. But I do like my premium leagues. In other words, like offensive only. A lot of leagues you'll see they get tight end premium.
Sure,
I like that for IDP too. I want my D tackles to have that premium. That way it brings them up some.
Makes them more valuable.
It makes them more valuable. And then I like leagues where you have to be specific in your position. I understand it, kind of what you were talking about earlier. You kind of dabbled in it, tried it out. I think for people like you and yourself, you want to be general to start out. Do a league that does linebacker, defensive line, defensive back. Then if you like it, look for something else. Me, myself, I like the specific positions. I want corners, I want defensive tackles, I want linebackers. That's just what appeals to me. I think it gives me more control as a full, it's owner-like, and I play some leagues where you have contracts as well. You got specific positions, but you also got contracts like you were kind of mentioning. So,
sure.
Yeah, I think it's just what you prefer. If you've not played IDP, I wouldn't jump in all at once.
Don't take your first swim in the Atlantic Ocean?
Yeah, I think it can be. Right? I think it can be a little overwhelming. But honestly, if you just kind of relax, breathe, and just learn and watch what's going on, it's really easy. I mean, it's not much different from what you're doing on offense.
Sure.
The way I look at it is it's just different positions.
Sure.
It's if you're scoring, you look if you want running back, you're taking McCaffrey and Saquon and Elliott. Well, if you're playing on defense, you're at linebacker, you're wanting your Darius Leonard, you're wanting your Blake Martinez. It's the same thing. It's just learning. I think it's a little much for some people, so they kind of feel overwhelmed because they just don't know. You know?
Yeah. Sometimes you're literally hoping that your wide receiver catches a 50-yard pass and gets tackled by your cornerback.
There you go.
It's like, give me points on both sides. Let's go.
That's exactly right.
That's funny. I think if that would happen, and I think a couple guys out there, I'm big fans of 50 Shades of Drunk. Love his Twitter handle, if nothing else. Are pushing for some standardized scoring. And I think it'd be just a great starting point because it would make the job for you guys easier as analysts and being able to put out information for the general public, and then they can season to their own flavor from there. Because they have more players, less players. They got a little extra bonus on top of that, but they have a starting point, which would kind of be nice and helpful. So.
And I'm kind of seeing a little bit more of that. More leagues are kind of getting into that general consensus that, standard scoring, other, each league has their own, just like with offense, they want their own little twist or whatever to it. But I'm beginning.
Oh, Hollywood. Can you hear me, Hollywood? I think I lost you there. Give me 1 second. We're going to bring Hollywood back on a line in just 1 second. Let's see what we can do here. I'm calling him right now, live on the air. Hollywood, I think your microphone died on us, my man. I think your earbuds died. Well, while he is dealing with his earbuds, I am going to talk a little bit about my next show. So on my next show, and this show is not over by any stretch of imagination, we're just having a momentary technical adjustment. We got the video going on YouTube, but he's making some adjustments here. On my next show, I'll have Mr. Jordan McNamara. I'm going to butcher your name, my man, but I'm on the show to talk a little bit of Dynasty. If you've never heard Jordan, he is extremely talented, technical in his Dynasty Talk, and you're not going to want to miss the episode. So you're going to want to get on there, and you're going to want to subscribe. I mean, that's basically what I can say there. So while he's doing that, I'm also going to talk about me, Bob's Three-Toed Warrior. So he mentioned pre-show or during the show, I don't know, that there's a little Warren Moon and Campbell jerseys behind me. I am a Broncos grew up in Houston. I think he might be coming back online here.
Are you there?
I am there. We got a little static, but that's okay. I'll take it. All right.
Hang on.
So I grew up in Houston, watching the Oilers when they went to Tennessee to his Titans. I still cheered for them because they were my team, even though they moved on. So I'm actually more likely to root for the Tennessee Titans than I am the Houston Texans, just because they kind of moved, and then my brain went with them. Then when I was 18, I moved to Denver and started watching the Broncos, playing a lot of Madden, enjoying the Broncos, and they stayed with me. And Terrell Davis and won a little Super Bowl. They went back-to-back 2 years in a row, which is amazing. So you see my little Broncos action, and I got a little Pete Rose down there. That's a little thing growing up. My grandma always laying in her room watching the Cincinnati Reds. She was born in Cincinnati, even though she lived in Sarasota, Florida, where I was born. And she was a huge fan of Pete Rose, who should be in the Hall of Fame, but isn't. Hollywood, if he ever gets that microphone fixed, he will agree with me on that. That man, he bet on the game. It's illegal. It's not legal, though, kind of. Probably not for the players, but. So that's a little smidge about the Bob's Three-Toed Warriors. And once Hollywood's mic is up, Hollywood, if you just want to go speakerphone, that'll work too. Yeah, okay. I hear you.
Okay, I can hear you. I don't know why you can't hear me.
I can hear you now. We're good. We're golden. It's like nothing ever happened. Let's go. So that's all good. That's all good. I talked a little bit about the Bob's Three-Toed Warriors, gave him a little history while you were gone. So I'm not gonna let dead air time happen, man.
That's all right.
So little bonus pod just broke in there. That's all it was. So I don't really remember where we were, but that's okay. I was just talking about my teams and growing up in Houston and then moving to Denver and stuff like that. If you yourself, there's a little listener question also came in from this guy called Bob's Three-Toed Warrior. You might know him.
I've heard of him.
A little listener question from me, buddy. If you weren't a Titans fan, who in the heck would you be rooting for?
Oh, man.
I'm not going to call the Titans after this and tell them to kick you out either, so don't worry about it.
That's a good question because for years I didn't have a team. You know, I can remember rooting for the Bears early on.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a Jets fan way back in the early or late 80s.
Damn.
The Eagles with Reggie White and them.
Sure.
I kind of bounced around from just whoever. And then once the Oilers moved to Tennessee, that was it. I was a Titans fan there on. So.
It makes a difference having a team in your area. So you're halfway between Nashville and Chattanooga or something like that, right? Knoxville,
yeah,
I mean.
Yeah. They're probably 4 hours from me.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So not too far. Who would I root for if I didn't have the Titans? Oh, that's a good question. Man, I don't even know. Well, it wouldn't be the Seahawks.
Oh, Dan's going to be pissed.
It wouldn't be the Seahawks. Man, that is a good question. Wow. Maybe. Ooh, I'd have to say it wouldn't be the Cowboys because I can't stand the Cowboys. It would. Man, that is a really good question. I hadn't thought of it.
That means you're faithful.
Yeah.
That's like when your wife says, if you weren't married to me, who would you go out with? There's no good answer for that.
Yeah, there is no good answer.
Your best friend, Charisse. Nope.
Nope.
So
True story. When Peyton Manning left the Colts and went to Denver, everybody around here is, oh, I'm a Broncos fan. Nope, you're dead to me. You had your chance. Yep.
So I thought you were going to jump on the bandwagon.
Nope. Nope, didn't happen.
Okay. Here's a question for you. I know you're an IDP guy, and team defense makes you about as sick as team offense does. I love that, actually, by the way. But if you were playing in a league, and I've booted them, we've managed to vote them out of all of our leagues. But if you were playing in a league that had team offense, what would you what's a couple, 2-3 offenses you'd probably try and target, knowing what you know right now? Defense changes so much throughout the year, but knowing what you know now, early season, anybody stands out to you?
I mean, you definitely have to target Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes and them. I think you got to target Baltimore with Lamar Jackson.
No, for team defense.
Oh, team defense.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I agree with that on the offense all the way, though.
Yeah. Defense. Let's see. Team defense. I'm trying to think who's stacked from front to back.
I would say who's stacked from front to back, and whose offense probably isn't going to score a ton, right? Because if you score a ton, then you're just in a boat race, right?
Right. Let's see. Good question. I'm running through the options right now in my head. I'm trying to think. I think Baltimore's going to have a really good defense. They always seem to have one, but they've got a good offense, which kind of hurts them a little bit there.
I got my vote.
It's hard to root against New England, even with all the changes.
They had a good defense last year, and you would think that offense would not be very explosive this year.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, I don't think they're going to be near what they was with Brady. We'll see. We'll see who was the cog, Brady or Belichick. But
can we put that one up there?
Where it is.
Can we put Buffalo up there?
Yeah, definitely. With what they're doing, I really like them.
And a good but not great offense, right?
Right. Team defense. Let's see here. Tennessee would be a good one. I mean, even with Henry, I think it's their style of play. They're not a huge
run it up.
Yeah, they're not Kansas City, Baltimore, but they like to run and play defense. So I kind of like them. The same thing with San Francisco. I really like San Francisco. That's probably a good one.
You said that with a love in your heart. You're like, I really love it. If anybody's watching on YouTube, he's like, I really love them.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's funny. That is funny. All right, so I'm going to ask you the my ask all question that I ask all my guests, except you're an IDP man, and I respect that because I think IDP people are serious. They're crazy. They're I can't run with them. I can't hang with them. They're just too tough for me. They're just too deep. So I respect IDP players with all my heart. So here's my question, and it's tailored to you with IDP. This is where you need that ranking. So and this is a redraft question. So who is one defensive lineman, linebacker, defensive back, so all three general positions anyway, that you could see finishing the season in a little top 5 area, top 5 or maybe even better, but you're able to draft them like 13th at their position or later, not 13th round, but 13th rank. So it's a nice little question for those people who are in redraft leagues, since they're going to be, doing their drafts. I was going to say sooner or later, probably not for another month or so, but it's a good question.
Oh, yeah, really good question. So we're looking at redraft here. Let's see, 13th or later, that could be in the top 5. I was looking at this earlier. That's a really good question, by the way. I will start at linebacker.
Okay.
And I'll look here, make sure I'm looking at the right one. I think at 13, and this is a deep position, so you've got a lot of younger guys that's probably going to push for this. Looking at one of our listener leagues, a redraft guy that could push for a top 5 is a couple of rookies that were drafted last year.
Mm-hmm.
Devin White, Devin Bush, I think.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they finished inside the top 12, but both of them are in good spots. They could really push up there. Deion Jones, I know a lot of people think he's an LB1, and he is, but he had a little bit of a down year. I think he's a really good, easy choice to pick as a top 5 guy. You could look at a guy like, let's see, who else do I have? Levante, well, no, he's right there on the edge. Levante David was. He's in that 12, 14 range, but he could easily be a top 5, 6 guy. So those are some guys that linebacker I like.
So linebacker can actually shift quite a bit, it sounds like.
They can, and it's such a deep position. It's just really hard to say. I think you're looking in a redraft, you're kind of looking at a guy that had a down year, or maybe he got hurt or something. Like a Leighton Vander Esch, that's another one. He kind of got dinged up last year and was kind of hurt. But
so people are sour on him.
When he's on, he could be easily a top 5, 6 guy. So
okay. Got a little lineman action for me.
Okay. Defensive lineman, this kind of takes your defensive tackles out because they just don't score what defensive ends do. Even your better ones like, Donald, he's elite no matter where he plays, stuff like that. So we're going to look at defensive ends. Josh Allen for Jacksonville. He was in this listener league. He was 16th.
Okay.
With Calais Campbell gone, with Yannick Ngakoue maybe holding out, who knows what he's doing? He's crazy. But Josh Allen was huge last year as a rookie and he wasn't even a starter for a lot of most of the season. Just barely got a few starts in. I think he could really push to be a top 5, 6 guy. I like him. Montez Sweat is another one. He had a good rookie year, and now he gets Chase Young playing opposite him, so he could push up there. I like guys like that have got improvements to their team.
Okay. I want you to hit us with a linebacker or two that you can steal and profit off of.
You mean defensive back?
Yeah. I'll just see if you're paying attention. That's all.
I'm paying attention. I always pay attention. Despite what Dan says, I always pay attention.
I can't even right now.
Okay, so defensive back. Let's look at some good names here too. A player like Taylor Rapp for the Rams. He took over for John Johnson last year, and he almost made it in the top 12 playing limited starts. So, full season of him starting, I think he could push up into the top 5 or 6. You're looking at, let's see, who else we got here? You've got a player like, let's see, I'm trying to look here.
That's okay. I only asked for one, so you're giving me bonuses right now. So bonuses, that's what I said, just to be clear.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on your league scoring, really, but these are balanced. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick finished outside the top 12. I think he could easily be a top 10 guy with the right season.
Okay.
Kevin Byard was outside. A lot of people don't like him because he's so dependent on interceptions, but he gets them every year. I mean, he's among the league leaders in interceptions. So I could easily see him being a top 12 guy easily too. So, I mean, there's a number of guys that can move around.
Okay. Well, there you have it, guys. That is Hollywood giving you guys some steals. He's been throwing nuggets of beautiful information at you all show. He's going to tell you in just a second where he can be found so you can steal all this information from him directly from the source with his boy Dan, with the IDP guys. Just some good stuff there. So why don't you remind me, even though I halfway stole it right there, where can those listeners find you, sir?
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at Hollywood Titan. You can find all my work over at the IDP guys. If you're looking for podcasts, you can listen to IDP Nation and Daddy IDP Grind. That's the new podcast that we have that's geared towards college IDP for you crazy like that.
That sounds crazy.
And then you can find me on, there's a Facebook group. It's called IDP Fantasy Football. I'm over there a little bit. I'm on Reddit. So I'm a little bit everywhere.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You are always a pleasure to hang out with. I can be found on Twitter at Bob's3Toad. That's the number 3. You're not going to find a lot of us out there, but Bob's3Toad. I can be found on YouTube at Bob's3Toad Warriors. You can listen to all of my new shows that drop on Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Podbeam, and a bunch of other places. And that's going to be all for this show. This has been Bob's 3-Toed Warrior and special guest, the Hollywood Titan from so many podcasts and so many places, reminding you that soon enough you'll be able to hit the waiver wire, set your lineups, dominate your opponents. Until next time, see you guys later.